CEO Ronald from Creating the Difference. We got Phaze 5 and we got an Idle Helios. We're going to talk a little bit about the Phaze 5 bowling ball, but first we're going to start off by scanning the ball and seeing what the surface is of the brand new Phaze 5. And you see we're getting a 5,500 grit reading on that ball. And this Idle Helios, it's been used a bit, so we're going to see where it scans at too. And you see it's scanning right at 4,500. So there's a 1,000-point grit difference between these two bowling balls. Got my man Billy Revs, gonna throw the bowling balls for us, and we're bowling on a different pattern. Today we're gonna bowl on Route 66. A little bit tougher pattern, but we wanted to be able to show you some more performance differences between the bowling balls, and that's what we're gonna talk about here today. So we're gonna let Billy Revs throw the ball. He'll start off with that Phaze 5. We're gonna kind of take a peek how that ball performs. So that was a weaker 10 pin there. Ball's a little bit longer for sure. He'll do that again. And we changed the pattern because we wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, how that can kind of impact some things too. So if you're interested in looking up the pattern, it is Route 66. That is what we're bowling on. And we're visually showing you exactly what that pattern is as well. A little bit straighter to the front. Ball held pocket there, nice. So now we'll have him switch and have him throw the Idle Helios in that same spot. Now with that pattern being longer, you can kind of see the dark blue would be the heavier concentration of oil. With them moving a little bit right and throwing it just a little bit straighter through the front part of the lane, that allowed the ball to grab the lane a little bit better earlier and then be able to hook to the pocket. So now the Idle Helios in just a little bit. That ball obviously is a little bit stronger for two reasons, right? One, because that bowling ball has 1,000 grit more aggressive surface on it than the Phaze 5. And two, just the shape of that bowling ball is a little bit stronger. So we're gonna go back to the Phaze 5. We're gonna give you a little higher angle view here so you can kind of see what's going on from a different perspective. Phaze 5. This ball appears to be a little bit longer, right? We'll kind of see what happens here on this shot. So a little further right in the friction. Ball kind of came back and he got it. So one thing we've been working on with Billy Revs is getting that rev rate up a little bit. We did a little work with him this week and he's seeing some benefits of that. As a matter of fact, he came to visit us 2 days ago and he went and shot 829 in league. So he was pretty happy with that, and we were happy to be able to assist him with a little bit of work. And you may say, well, what did we do? We wanted to be able to increase his rev rate a little bit, and we wanted to be able to get him in a little stronger position to be able to get a little more ball speed. So we worked on those two things with him, specifically with his game. Was able to increase his rev rate by about 30 RPMs and his ball speed by 1 mile an hour. And he's liking it. So that's a ring 10 pin. So now ring 10 pins aren't as bad as flat 10 pins, right? So the flat 10 pin's really bad, ball's really weak. Ring 10 pin's not a good hit, but nonetheless, not nearly as bad as a flat 10 pin, which means there's just a little bit too much oil for this ball. Go ahead and throw the Idle Helios again, please, Billy. But it just means that this pattern's a little bit long for this particular ball, for his style of play. We have kind of seen a little bit more of that as of late, where basically when we're trying different patterns, it allows us to kind of see where these balls are going to match up, or where they won't match up in this case. Helios, that's in a little bit, but it'll hold, and it's 10 back. So there's a lesson here immediately, right? So with this particular pattern for his style of play, he's going to be able to get more room for error out of that Idle Helios for two reasons. One, because that ball is stronger more in the mid lane, and then two, because it is a stronger piece overall, and the pattern does still have a lot of concentration in the middle, he can be able to get a little bit of hold out of that bowling ball. Whereas with the Phaze 5, if he does get the ball into the friction a little bit earlier, he can create some angle, but maybe not enough angle to get that ball to strike consistently. Let's see what that does. That may come back. Okay, so that was a little bit wide right, and it looks like the speed says it's just a tad bit faster. So the combination of those two things made that ball just not be able to recover. So he'll be able to line up. I'm going to clear the lines off down there so you can see that. We'll start with some fresh lines on the bowling ball or on the lane, and we're going to have him move just a little bit more right. That's what we're going to have to do to be able to get this to strike. So now he'll get a little further right and be more in the lighter blue down there, which is representative of the more friction. So a little more friction there, you can see. And it just will not strike. I mean, the ball is actually making a fairly decent move, but it's just not striking for us. That's kind of a little bit surprising. Typically, the bowling balls coming out of the Utah Storm camp, when they see the friction, they tend to react pretty aggressively and are pretty angular, honestly. This one's a little bit lazier down lane, so that's a little bit surprising, but nonetheless, it's at least good for us to be able to kind of see, you know, all of the bowling balls in different environments and be able to make some judgments ourselves as well as you being able to see too. So we'll see here. That's pretty much aced a little further right. Yeah. So he's got no room for error. You can see that, right? There's just absolutely no room for error. That shot was aced off of his hand, except his launch angle was right, which is why the two lines, as you get down the lane, begin to diverge. Now, to show you that, you know, he missed by about 2 boards there. Maybe 3. Looks like 3 boards. And obviously his resultant is 3 as well, right? He obviously missed by 3 boards, and as a result of missing by 3 boards, he washed out instead of hitting the pocket. So, useful piece of information there. This is definitely the wrong ball. Billy, instead of throwing that ball again, I do want you to go back to the Helios, because I do want to show the people that, you know, if you are struggling and your reaction is kind of like what we're seeing here with Phaze 5, this is a way to fix that, right? So you go to a stronger ball that's more continuous, it's going to be able to pick up a little bit earlier, and that should resolve the issue that you may be having. So now he's in more oil there, right? That was a little too much, just a little too much. You can see that. So he moved in like he was supposed to. He just made a little bit too much of a correction. So he'll move a little bit left off of that. I'm sorry, a little bit right off of that, and that will allow him to get to the pocket, and he'll be able to strike. But the cool thing is he'll have some room, he'll have a little bit of room for error now too. So this is kind of this ball review has turned into an educational piece, because we can show you some things that you can do if you're if you're having specific leads or you're struggling, being able to get the bowling ball to do what you need to do, which is strike, obviously. So similar shot and kind of a similar result there, right? So he definitely will probably make like a 1-and-1. So actually what I'd probably do is I would probably just leave my target the same, but I would move my feet 2 boards to the right. So if he moves his feet 2 boards to the right, that'll probably resolve that whole issue there, and the ball will be able to come back. So we'll watch to see if he can do that for us, and then that'll give you another little free tidbit of information about how to adjust on these patterns as well. There we go. There we go. And you can see that, right? So he moved his feet 2 boards right, which allowed him to be able to get a little bit straighter through the front part of the lane, right? So because it's straighter through the front part of the lane, the ball sees a little bit more friction down lane. Let's go ahead and zoom in that. A little more friction down lane. And that down lane friction, because he's straighter through the front part, allows it to create angle, allows him to be able to strike. So now, just for reference, Billy, I do want you to throw the Phaze 5 one last time, but obviously don't throw it there. Go ahead and make that move back right, because we're going to end this video on a strike. So we'll have him move back right to get into more friction and get the Phaze 5 to begin to pick up. But that's a free tidbit piece of information if you're struggling bowling on a pattern. Your ball reaction is like we initially had with the Phaze 5. Ouch. All right, well, let's try that one more time. So you can see, I mean, the ball, the Phaze 5 in this particular case, is just not the right ball for this pattern. That happens. That's definitely an indicator that we would need something that's stronger. So if you are bowling and you are experiencing a situation where your bowling ball is not recovering properly, maybe it isn't you, maybe you're in the wrong part of the lane, and or maybe you got the wrong ball in your hands. There we go. So if you're interested in getting the Phaze 5, head on over to ctdbowling.com. If you're a member of our staff, you can actually get a discount on this bowling ball, which is advantageous if you're trying to save a little bit of money. On behalf of Billy Levin, I am CEO Ronald from Creating a Difference. Talk to you soon.